So here are some tips for hosting your own panel at an event. First tip, always research the panel really well. If you can, have a brief meeting beforehand with them, and particularly if it's a virtual event, because you want to make sure everyone is really happy with the technology and the format beforehand. What you're finding out from each contributor, each panel guest, is what is the hot issue for them on the topic that you're going to be discussing. You want to find out where they've got the interesting points to make so that you'll know who to address the appropriate questions to during the panel. But also bear in mind, while it's really great that you've socialised and you can break the ice beforehand, you don't want to be rehearsing the whole conversation. You really want a lively, interesting chat on the day that is clever, dynamic, fresh. Timing is really important as the event host or the panel host. That is really important. It's your job to make sure that it begins and ends on time. And so you want to plan your sessions in sections. So you've got the intros, then you've got the top level questions, then you sort of the bit when you get down and dirty into the detail, and then a sum up and a goodbye. So time is of the essence. So you don't want to let people introduce themselves. That way madness lies and they can go on for too long. You want really quick, pithy introductions for each of the attendees that is relevant to the discussion. 3 lines per person, absolute max. Please don't quote their whole CVs, and their bios are going to be in the program anyway. At an in-person event, I really want to encourage that you sit in with the panel. I've seen them where people are sort of at some distance on the other side of the stage directing questions at them, and I don't think that works. You're part of the conversation, so join in, sit with them. Your job is about really encouraging a great conversation. You want to keep the energy high, you want to keep all the participants involved and saying things. So you need to be firm and make sure it's not dominated by any one panelist. So you need to have planned a few polite little phrases or expressions or ways to sort of stop the windbags and encourage more from the people who are a little bit more introverted. I would really advise against allowing anyone to show slides in the panel. Panels should be quick, short, interesting conversations. You wouldn't interrupt a normal conversation to go, here's a panel I prepared earlier. So think about whether it's going to work. Obviously, depending on the industry, someone might go, look, I really need to show you this bit from this video. And if that's going to be part of it, discuss that, weigh it up beforehand and think, yeah, if it's a quick, dynamic click at a video that's going to really empower the conversation further, allow it. If it's not going to make the conversation better, don't allow it. Keep the introduction as well to your panel really concise. I forgot to say that at the beginning because people know why they're there and what they're coming to see. Don't go on for ages. It's in the brochure again. Don't waste time on that. If you can avoid as well, when you're getting to all the questions, going down the same kind of line of, and what do you think, and what do you think, and what do you think for each question, it makes it a little bit more varied as well. Think of questions that are a little bit more relevant for each one and go in that way. You want to allow people, obviously, if there's a quick response needed to an answer that someone else has just said, but you just want to shake it up a lot, be unpredictable and fresh. Get the audience involved as much as possible from the word go. Don't just wait for the Q&A at the end. You can ask people for questions in the virtual chat. You can get people to share their reactions and what they're interested in via a poll. If you're at the in-person event, ask for a show of hands, ask for verbal things like, can I get a big yay for this or a boo for that? Just to kind of gauge responses, get people involved, keep them included as much as you can throughout. If you've had a really great response from a panelist and you can hear in the audience that people were interested in that, that's the time to direct the same question potentially at the audience. Another tip pre the event is ask the panelists what they might like to ask the fellow panelists on it with them, because that will give you some more ideas for questions and it's a little bit more unpredictable. And when it comes to the end, when we tend to ask for a closing thought, it can lead to quite a long-winded repetition of the conversation by some of the panelists. So make sure you ask them for just one line to sum it up, and maybe suggest before the event that you will be doing that so that they've got time to think of it. It doesn't just hit them going, oh, I didn't think of one. So that will keep it speedy. And also you could just go and do away with that and go, okay, assuming we solved this problem, I just want to leave finding out what would be the next issue that you want to fight for or the next thing that you're most excited by. I hope that's given you some tips and best of luck.